If you want to get good at FL Studio, it's more than just memorizing shortcuts and hotkeys and doing what everybody else is doing on YouTube. It's actually the counterintuitive and complete opposite way to get better at FL Studio. So if you don't know me, I'm GameForBusyWorksBeats.com. We train over 1 million producers around the world. So we're going to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, French Montana, Young Thug, YG, Polo G, Lil Baby, Trippie Redd, J. Cole, a long list that I'm not even going to memorize. Today, I'm going to introduce one concept that will advance you way further than all the shortcuts and hotkeys. To get better at FL Studio, you actually have to do stuff wrong. And what I mean by wrong is you have to run into a real problem. So for example, let's say you have this plugin here and you want to record a bass. Let's just record. And you know how to get this far. Let's just record something. Okay, so let's say you know how to get to this point. You know how to get to this point. You know how to quantize. You know how to do what you think. You know how to get here, which is the basics. Okay, but what most people don't do is run into errors. So let's say something happens to where you didn't pay attention and you accidentally shorten your clip like this, for example, and then you start hitting Control B to latch paste, which you would normally do to kind of fill out your song. So you're going along. Let's go to song mode. You're listening to your BPM and you're like, you start to notice the BPM is drifting. You're like, what is going on? You're like, how do you fix this? And then you look online, how to snap patterns to the grid or how to fix patterns off the grid. And once you learn that error, now you know, okay, in order for this to actually work fully, I need this to be all the way here. I need to grab the slice tool, slice off any excess, hitting shift to right click, do this. Or if something's off the grid, like audio, like this, you could hit Shift Q. I learned that from Infinite. Shout out to Infinite. So now you know how to solve a problem. Solving problems is how you get better at FL Studio. The DAW. Okay, we're not talking about music production. We're not talking about beat making or making samples. To get better at FL Studio, you have to run into these walls where you're like, how do you do X, Y, and Z? How do you reverse audio? How do you print this to audio? You can right-click, consolidate from track start, turn off the master effects. Over time, you'll realize that all these little things that you get stuck on become your greatest learning tools. So don't get frustrated when you get stuck. Get happy because the moment you solve that getting stuckness is the moment you're leveling up your FL Studio. Okay, so I have seen this a million times, is that people think that learning how to do something, how to do something completely right or like somebody else is the fastest way to learn in FL Studio, when in reality, it's kind of like they say, you know, great businessmen are made in the downturns, okay? Or great leaders are made in the downturns. When everything's up and everything's easy, you're not going to learn much. You know, it's like playing easy on a video game. And then you might ask, okay, how do you time stretch this? Do you just turn the time knob up? You know, do you time stretch it this way or do you put it on stretch mode? You know, how do you time stretch? So you start learning little things like this once you Google it or YouTube it. And now you know how to time stretch. Now you may do that 17 different ways. There's a lot of ways to time stretch. You can click up here in the audio clip. You can grab this right here. You could left click and do it this way. That's one way to time stretch. You could double click, go to the time knob and lock it into the nearest grid. It's probably the fastest way to do it. You could also time stretch with different algorithms. There's different algorithms. You could time stretch manually just by dragging that out with this tool, hitting Alt, which is a little more tedious, but more precise. Okay, so you'll learn 3 ways to do the same exact thing. And because you learn all those approaches, you're a lot faster. You'll never get stuck on those little things about FL Studio that get you hung up. That's why I made an entire course. If you go to busyworksbeats.com/premium, I have a free FL Studio 21 course. So go to busyworksbeats.com/premium. It's a completely free course. What it shows you is all the basic shortcuts and hotkeys. Now take that information from that course, and when you start applying this information and you get in real beat making mode, you'll start to run into walls and you're like, this wasn't in the course, how to do this super nuanced thing. And then you're going to look it up on YouTube. You're probably going to find a video by me again. Okay. And then you apply all these techniques and then you get over those hurdles. And that's what's going to make you learn FL Studio. It's not the videos that's going to make you learn. It's the running into that invisible wall that's going to make you learn. So next time you run into those invisible walls, get excited because that's your actual learning curve being tested. Okay, so let's show you a couple things you probably didn't know about FL Studio, just to show you guys how much you probably don't know about FL. So firstly, we can create a patcher around any sound. You can right click and you can patcherize. What? Mic went off. You can patcherize this sound. So let's say you want to randomize the fine tune pitch. Okay, you don't have to do anything here, but what you could do is go inside of Patcher, for example. And if you don't know this, you don't need to know it, but I'm just showing you there's a lot of stuff about FL you might not know yet. Let's go to the Fruity Formula controller. And we want this output to control the input of Serum. So we need to tell Serum what input we want to modulate, which parameter we want to modulate. In this case, oscillator is A fine tuning. Okay. So if I sound like I'm speaking an alien language just then you have a lot to learn about just those basics. Now, if I go to Serum and check the fine tune pitch, I need to set the oscillator to LFO. Let's do a basic sine wave. And I can hear the oscillator. And if you double click in Serum, you see these numbers moving. Okay, you probably didn't know you could do that. Modulate a plugin from outside of the plugin. Okay, so a lot of people don't know you could do that. And then you can modulate the modulator. So let's add where we have Fruity Formula controller. My brain kind of freezes sometimes. Then let's add the output here. And then control the input. You can left click and just drag it over top and it will ask you what you want to control. In this case, the B parameter, which is the range. And let's set this one to be random. So now we're adding more randomness to our sine wave. Here's what it looks like. And then those values are controlling this. So now we get a more randomized real world analog type randomness. Okay, so, these are little things that nobody's going to spend an entire video to show you this type of stuff. But what I'm just showing you is how far you could take your knowledge of FL. So let's add some chords in here. This is called Note on Alternative. Okay, let's get that BPM. Dun, dun, dun. You can right click, tap the BPM. Okay, so now we have that. You might say, okay, I like those chords, but how do I quantize it without locking everything to the grid? With Control Q, which normally does that. You could hit Alt Q and do a lighter version of quantization. So it's just little nuances like this you'll learn. Then you may say, okay, I like that sound, but how do I switch keys? You can hit Shift Up or Shift Down. So getting good at FL is more than just the shortcuts. It's learning where you get stuck and then how do you get past that invisible hurdle. Okay, so I can show you 10 more things you probably didn't know about FL, but this video will go on and on and on and on and on. So we're going to wrap it here. I guess my ultimate thing is it's not the videos that get you better. The videos show you the pathway. What gets you better is going off of the pathway into the forest where you have to fight the tiger by yourself and figure out how to win. That's what's going to get you better. So use these videos on our channel at busyworksbeats.com/premium. Use these to understand the pathway from where you're starting to where you're trying to go. But understand that when you step out in the jungle, that's when you become a better warrior, so to speak. Okay, it's not the pathway that makes you a better warrior. Okay, so thank you for watching. It's Game from BusyWorksBeats. The pathway just guarantees that we'll get you to the destination safely. Okay, go to busyworksbeats.com/premium. It's Game from busyworksbeats.com. Peace.